How's it going, everybody? Today I wanted to talk about an anime that I just finished called Tokyo Revengers. Now, if you don't know what Tokyo Revengers is, it is about a 26-year-old man named Takamichi Hanagaki who basically is a loser in life, I guess you could say, or that's what he kind of mentions as himself in the anime. And he goes through life day by day, working at a convenience store and lives in filth. He's only ever dated one girl throughout the entire show, and the girl he dated when he was in middle school. And going into this, it seems so ordinary, this anime. And it's so weird, the feeling you get almost immediately, as if you're kind of watching someone's life pass by. And all of a sudden, spoilers ahead, just a heads up, he basically takes a turn for the worst as somebody pushes him onto train tracks where he is about to perish, but instead goes back in time. And I know time travel isn't realistic, but that is the only part of this entire anime where it just doesn't feel real, obviously. But the rest of this anime just hooked me every single episode. I was on the edge of my seat to the point where I knew the characters were obviously going to win in some way, shape, or form at the end of the day, but it feels so real. And you might be asking, well, why? Why does this feel so real to you? And it's because the character is absolutely normal. Outside of the ability to time travel, which his ability to time travel sucks, he can only time travel when he specifically shakes one person's hand, which is just a terrible power because if anything happens to that one person, then your time travel is canceled. And he also can't time travel if he has already perished in a timeline. So he can only time travel when he changes the timeline and it gets rewritten, basically. And that's what makes it very interesting. But like I said, he's a normal guy. In every single episode, he's getting beat up. He's going through life, and it's just miserable. It's very similar to watching like Re Zero almost, where it's just over and over and over again. You watch this normal guy just fail, and when he time travels, I'm going to say this, he goes back 12 years in the past where basically he used to be a gangster in Tokyo with him and his friends, but they end up getting bullied because they are basically the weakest gangsters all around. Now, with all of that being said, after getting bullied a little bit, and I believe the first and second episode, he essentially meets this guy who is like the strongest, basically. And he's not strong under a way where it's like, wow, he has superpowers. It's like, no, he's strong because he learned martial arts and then got strong because of that. And he uses those to be a very like strong gang member, basically. And he goes throughout this entire anime, the main character, and he is essentially trying to save himself, his friends, but the primary goal throughout the anime is to save his girlfriend. Because something that we learn in the first episode is that his girlfriend apparently got into this wreck and perished. And it is just so crazy. So, first episode, like you get hooked. Normal guy, there's some sort of background plot of his girlfriend perishing and he time travels and you're like, wow, there's a lot going on in this. And this goes on for multiple seasons. There's currently 3 seasons out. I don't know if they're going to release any more. I really hope they do, but this goes on for multiple seasons, and every single fight throughout the entire series feels like something that would happen in real life. Because, like, genuinely, there is stuff like this that happens where there's massive street brawls and all those sorts of things. But it's not even that. It's just the animation and the style isn't flashy. It's not like let's say if you watch like sports anime, right? If you watch sports anime, I think everybody can agree that there's a lot of times where there's just stuff that would never happen, right? So if you watch like Haikyuu, the volleyball anime, it's like, you got this little guy jumping, what is it, like 15 feet, 11 feet, 15 feet in the air. And like they basically look like they have superpowers. It's super flashy. This anime isn't like that, really. There's no impact frame. There's no move calling out. It's not like Ultra Dragon Fist or anything like that. It's just normal. And it puts you on the edge of your seat for every little thing that happens throughout the entire thing. Because, like I said, he might win, but that he is a normal guy, and it doesn't feel like a plot armor win. It feels like he wins because he he actually is just trying to. And a big thing, since I just watched the final episode, this might have a little bit of spoilers, but I'm going to try not to spoil it as much as possible here. So, going into the final episode, basically, he is obviously fighting the main guys, like the main guys that are, I guess you could say, the villains, right? And every single time they beat him down, he immediately gets back up. And, people are like, well, that's his strength, right? And it's like his strength is the indomitable human spirit. And it's mad respect. And I've seen, some stuff where it's like, oh, well, like realistically, he probably wouldn't be getting back up. But I love this anime and the way that it ended personally, at least with the scenes up to the ending. The ending I didn't really like too much. We'll get into that in a second. The reason that I like it and I like the fight scenes so much is even though he is extremely weak, it's like watching a real life boxing match of a boxer who does not want to lose. Like that's what it feels like every single time. And it's like he gets knocked down, he gets back up before the bell rings. He gets down, he gets back up. And I think that's the best analogy I could really give for this is like it is so intense. And when you see the story, you understand why he isn't afraid to get back up because they build it up so unbelievably well to the point where you're like, yeah, like he has no reason to stay on the ground. Like in his mind, if there was even a sliver of a chance that his body would allow him to get back up after what he sustained, he'd be getting back up because of what he knows the probability of the future is, right? Since he can time travel. And it's just so crazy to me, like how hooked I was on this. And that's a big reason why I haven't been talking about a lot of other things, is because I have been once again, I've been hooked. I've said it 500 times by this point. But you might be asking, well, why don't you like the ending? One, it ended on a cliffhanger, and there could potentially be more stuff. Because even though what I would say is the main villain got defeated, it wasn't a satisfying defeat. Not only was it not satisfying, but there was no ending, as I should say. It was like, here's the climax, episode's over, and then that's the end of the season. And I think something like that, like obviously gets you excited for the next season, and maybe I will go into reading the manga or whatever it is if nothing is talked about later this year. But if you were looking for maybe a new anime that feels very realistic and like feels like it really hits home with the being a normal guy, similar to ReZero, then I would definitely recommend Tokyo Revengers because it's very similar, just not a fantasy world. There's no magic, there's no crazy skills. It's just normal guys. And I think that's the craziest part about it. But that's really all I wanted to rant about today was Tokyo Revengers. We will be back tomorrow with a brand new video over something else. Besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful day. Peace.